Today I'm going to do this heart-to-heart sharing with you because this question has actually surfaced many times before. How much to save by what age? I know if you are now a young working adult, you've just gotten your first paycheck, and you're thinking, what are the milestones looking ahead? If you're 40 plus, 50 plus, you may be thinking, hey, maybe I've missed the boat, maybe I've been a bit slower than my peers. So today I'm going to answer quite a few questions. But before I get there, I actually Google search a bit and YouTube search a bit, and I came across quite a few presentations. One of which is actually by Graham Stephan. So in his video, he actually referenced Fidelity Investments finding, which I think has a lot to be desired, in my opinion at least. So let's move on to the Fidelity investment findings, and what do you realize? This is the chart that they show over here. Saving factors to help you on your journey to retirement. If you are at the age of 30, 1 times of your starting salary. If you're age of 40, 3 times your starting salary. And if you become age of 50, 6 times your starting salary. Now my first question is, what has starting salary got to do with retirement? I think that's a bit far off, simply because, you know, as you progress in life stages, your expense changes. There's lifestyle creep. Your expectations on what you wear, where you travel, tends to change. So your starting salary has really no relation to your retirement, in my opinion. If you ask many who are in their 30s, 40s, what is their starting salary, they can't quite remember, if I'm not wrong. So this part, I do not agree with it. Second part, let's scrutinize on the factors itself. You realize that they seem to be placed there arbitrarily. Take for example, age 35 to age 40, it's 2 times to 3 times, a 50% growth in the factor. Then for 40 to 45, it's from 3 times to 4 times, which is only a 33% growth. And then again, from 45 to 50, it's 4 times to 6 times, which is again a 50% growth. Things follow on an exponential curve. They don't go so haphazardly. So I don't know if these factors are just placed there for convenience, because when I look at it, I think it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Today I'll be giving you a few key pointers on what you can take action with, because this, in my opinion, really doesn't answer the full question. If we look in terms of the article, they do mention a few parts. How much do I need to save for retirement? They've tried to address it with a factor on the starting salary. But then let's move on to how much should I save each year for retirement. I'll try to give you actual numbers, actionable steps, and how can I make my retirement savings last. I think that part I've addressed it through other videos, which I'll leave links below. Because getting your retirement pot to last, there are a few methods. One way is you only consume dividends. The other way is you deplete it. And the second method means that you don't keep anything behind, and it's something that I've been advocating for quite a bit. So I'll leave links below to past videos that I've touched on that topic before. So if we think Fidelity Investments finding does not make quite a lot of sense, let's move on to some other recommendations. And I've actually found this to suggest to you also. This is by Next Advisor. What do you realize over here? Looks a bit similar. From 20s to 30s, you should have 1 times your current salary. So they use current salary rather than starting salary. Okay, that factors in expenses a bit better. And in any case, salary tends to grow exponentially when you're in your 20s to 30s, and then it might plateau when you're 40s. So that is the more expected kind of a curve. They move on to 30s to 40s, 3 times of current salary, which is between 126,000 US dollars to 253,000 US dollars. That means a person is expected, to earn 42 to 88,000 per year. But then when we move to 40s to 50s, hey, 6 times your current salary, and they put over there 300,000 to 330,000 only. That means the annual income drops to 50,000 to 55,000. I think that is quite unusual. From what I've seen through private clients, the peak of someone's career is typically in the 40s. You become a senior executive. You have a lot of industry experience. 40s, that's where you really peak out in terms of income. So I think seeing a drop there is not usual. You might get layoffs, or that threat comes in at 50s. When your salary becomes very expensive. So that's what happens. But I'll leave links below to these articles just in case you want to check it further for yourself. So back to the point, what are actionable steps? If I believe all this are not worth their weight, I want to give you real steps that you can take note of, that you can make decisions on what you can change today. Now let me pull up a previous chart that I presented before on one of my videos, semi-retirement phase for everybody. It's a concept that I'm trying to pioneer. I believe everybody should have a tail end of their career. Enjoy life a bit differently, spend time with families. You build enough wealth, you might want to change your perspective. So in that video, I've actually this table. If you have, at the age of 50, 500,000, and then your expenses are about 3,000 each, you can actually go to semi-retirement. All you need to do is just find an income of 3,000 and then you compound this pot of 500,000 all the way to age of 60. By the time you're age of 60, you'll hit 800,000. 814,000 to be exact if you use a 5% compounded annual growth rate. So that is a key point that I like to use as a basis, because if that is true, then we can work backwards as to how much you need to save by what age. Make sense? So let's fall back again on the next advisor part. I think I've missed out on factors which are pretty good for us to understand. Let's look at it. When you're in your 20s to 30s, compound interest isn't on your side. Starting salary is low. That is usually true. Later I'll show you Singapore's graduate starting salary. And then you need to build emergency cash. You need to try to build up as much as possible. When you're 30s to 40s, earnings are higher. That is true also. Compound interest will help you grow your savings faster. And then this could be an expensive decade if you're buying house, starting family, making career changes. Now I'm in this phase, so I can safely say, children, babies, they are so expensive. Infant care can cost $1,500. Hiring a maid can cost $1,000. So these costs are quite unavoidable if you're starting a family, and if you have mortgage, then that is another bill that you need to add on, which costs several $1,000s. So then what they mention is 40s to 50s, your prime earning years. Again, they conflicted it by saying that you only earn 50 to 55,000 in your prime earning years. And then the objective is set aside at least 20% of your salary for retirement savings. Now let's break down these factors, because I want to show you step by step stages what you need to look out for. So let's work backwards. If you're age of 40, what to target? So just now I mentioned, if you can reach age of 50 with 500,000, you're kind of safe. Get it invested properly, 5%, you reach your retirement goals. But if we extrapolate backwards, age of 40, what do you need if you have a 5% compounded annual growth rate? You do only need 300,000, because this will eventually grow to 488,000 to be exact when you reach the age of 50. Now this is slightly lower than 500,000, but it's pretty close. If you have been practicing diversification, proper asset allocation, 5% is really not difficult. So if you have a 300,000 pot in your account right now, excluding all expenses, of course, then you could be actually close to retirement. You can actually prepare for it. You have the right pot already. But that again does not factor in your liabilities. Make sure you have your liabilities all covered before your cash flow positive 300,000 to get invested. Now, if your question is, hey, I don't have 300,000, I have a slightly lower amount. What are some numbers that we can look at? So if you have only 250,000, age of 40, what that means is you still need to have a monthly savings, monthly regular investing into your program itself. Make sure you pump in at least 500 a month. With that, you can make things up. You'll reach probably around the same 500,000 mark by the age of 50. So I've actually showed you two methods already. One is you have the full pot ready. Second is if you have just missed the pot. And last but not least, let me show you a third pot. If you have only 200,000 and you want to reach 500,000 by age of 50, that means you need to commit more capital per month to get invested with regular investing. So if you have 200,000 and you regularly invest 1,000, you will reach close to 500,000. The actual figure is 484K by the age of 50 with a 5% annual growth rate. Now, three methods for you to reach there. So hopefully you have understood there are many ways to get to retirement. Different stages, you have different savings rates. And if you have benefit, again, smash our like button so that more people can see valuable content like this. It's taken our team hours to prepare this, and hopefully it gives you more sensing as to how you can prepare for retirement adequately and why you need to save early, because it flows to the step before that. Now, if you're 40, you already know this number is needed, 200,000 bare minimum, because without it, you're quite far from the gap. A lot of work to do, correct? Which means the work needs to be done earlier. So let's move back to the time frame again. If we use the middle example, 250,000 by age of 40, what do you need at age of 30 to reach that target? Make sense? So we are working backwards to give you actionable steps. If you have $100,000 at age of 30 and you're willing to save up 500 a month, get it regularly invested, do you know that you can actually meet that shortfall of 250,000 by age of 40? Your final figure will be close to $242,000. So at each step, you're on track. 100,000 age of 30, 250,000 close to that age of 40, age of 50, 500,000. So your steps are already mapped out. All you need is 500 a month, all the way from your 30s onwards, and you can reach your retirement goals. So as I've always preached on this channel, slow and steady wins the race. Don't look for windfalls and gambling ideas. Go slow and steady, you'll definitely meet your financial goals. So having said that, age of 30, you do need 100,000 still. And age of 30 is, as what we've learned in the factors mentioned, that could be an age whereby it's very expensive. Your wedding, you have house to come in, you have your first kid, etc, etc. So if these costs were to come in, 500 per month is actually not that easy also for some circumstance. So the hard work also comes before the age of 30. So I'd like to show you something. The fresh grad's starting salary right now is close to $3,700. That means an annual income of $50,000. Now if you're in this age group of 20 plus, just started working, my challenge to you is, can you save at least 50% of your take-home pay? If your annual income is 50,000, your take-home pay is 40,000, 10,000 goes to CPF. 40,000, can you save 20,000 of it? My challenge to you is, can you do that? If you can actually save for 5 years, get some interest on it, get some compounding rate of return to it, you will reach $100,000. It's not difficult. I've seen many private clients make that happen before, and you can also do so. So again, bring that saving rate forward in your life. Everything starts with habits. If you build the right habits, age of 20 plus, once you start having income, you don't splurge it. You realize you are used to that level of saving rate. And then you extrapolate 30s, 40s, you realize if you continue to save aggressively, you will reach a much bigger number. Everything that we projected now, age of 40 to reach 500,000, is actually not difficult. You can actually way surpass that amount. For myself, I shared in a previous video, I've actually crossed $1 million by age of 37. So all this is slow and steady, done through aggressive saving, done through proper investments. So look for that video, it might inspire you differently, but let's move on. Now coming to here, let me ask you a question. Do you believe these numbers are doable? Leave them in the comment sections below. And again, inviting you to press on subscribe, join our family, become more financially savvy. Now I've also a previous video that I'd like to introduce to you. This video touches on why retirement savings just needs 500 per month. I've kind of justified already along this tutorial. And if you want more details, more numbers, more actionable steps, follow this tutorial. With that, I'll sign off from here. I'll see you there, and hopefully you have learned something from today's session. With that, I'll sign off. Take care and goodbye.